to Matt's Game Show. Not an actual game show, but a show about games. And on this show about games, we talk about all sorts of games. We talk about good games, talk about bad games, talk about whatever the hell this is, the whole shebang. Seeing how this is the first episode of this hopefully soon-to-be series, I thought I'd stay positive, talk about a game that really helped shape me as a lover of games. That's right, I'm talking about a real gem here. A Tale of Player 2. That's right, it's Mario is Missing. Just kidding, it's Luigi's Mansion.
Before we get to the real steak and potatoes of the game, I'm gonna give a little history lesson. Make sure to take notes, there will be a test over it. In 2001, Nintendo was just about to release their brand spanking new Box of Love to the world, but uh-oh, Mario Sunshine wasn't finished. That's where Nintendo's trusty understudy came in. Enter Luigi, the green bean with a vacuum filled with dreams, except those dreams are dead and haunting a mansion, and they kidnapped Mario. Oh shit, that's where he went! I think this is the perfect time to talk about the plot, and for a game in the Mario series, it's on the darker side. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not a dark and edgy story or anything, but...
The first boss is a dead ghost baby. Let that set the tone.
So, basically the story goes that one day, Luigi gets a letter in the mail telling him that he won a mansion. Luigi doesn't exactly remember entering the contest, but he goes anyways.
I heard that Wario got one of those Nigerian prince emails one time, and it seemed to work out pretty well for him.
Upon entering the mansion, Luigi starts to realize that he may have been bamboozled. The house is decrepit, there's fungus everywhere, and oh yeah, it's haunted. After being mondo spooked by a couple of ghosts, Luigi runs into Professor E. Gadd, who has been developing a mechanism for catching ghosts, but can't seem to figure out why the machine isn't doing what it's supposed to. He then gets the bright idea to attach Luigi's flashlight to the vacuum, completing the Poltergust 3000 and sending Luigi off into the mansion.
I always found this funny. The man probably devotes years of his life to creating this device for catching the supernatural, and the one thing missing, the one key factor that could make or break his research, is a common household flashlight.
The main game mechanic of Luigi's Mansion is, of course, catching ghosts. Now these ghosts come in all sorts of shapes and sizes, such as tiny orange ones, long boys, and slippery dipperies. However, the main ghosts you're trying to catch are the portrait ghosts, more unique ghosts that can be found in mostly every room that you enter in the mansion. These ghosts are packing more health, and you usually have to complete some sort of puzzle or wait for a certain cue before you're able to capture them. These ghosts are one of my favorite parts of the game, and one of the many advantages that I feel Luigi's Mansion has over its sequel, Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon. Dark Moon is still a great game, don't get me wrong, but because it has a more mission-based system, with Luigi visiting more than one mansion, these mini-boss ghosts are nowhere to be found, which is a shame. Each one of these ghosts has a personality and a story, making every encounter with them feel special. Sure, some of them have more development than others, but that just makes those special ones stick out even more. Once you capture all the ghosts in one area, you'll find yourself up against a boss ghost. These ghosts have the same amount of health as any other portrait ghost, excluding the final boss of course, but while the other ghosts can be captured in one fell swoop if the player is good enough, these ghosts will often break contact between themselves and the poltergust in order to lengthen the fight. There are 4 bosses in total, those being Chauncey, Bogmire, Asshole, and King Boo.
Yeah, the third boss of this game sucks.
Early into the second area of this game, Luigi accidentally releases the Boos from a trap they were stuck in, causing them to run rampant around the mansion. Boos act as this game's collectibles, with one being found in every room after Luigi has cleared out every other ghost in said room. That's where Boolossus comes in, because while there are 50 Boos in the mansion, only 35 of them were found through normal means. That's because 15 Boos decided to form together and become one of the hardest bosses of my childhood.
Yeah, I could beat Boolossus pretty well now. I've played the game so many times, it's just kind of come natural, but as a kid, this boss destroyed me.
What makes this boss harder than the other 2 that came before it is that Boolossus can't simply be captured like the other ghosts or even other Boos. No. First you have to drag Boolossus over to these unicorn statues and pop them. Then you have to absorb the ice power-up. Oh yeah, Luigi gets elemental powers, forgot to mention that. Freeze each Boo, individually I might add, individually. You have to freeze each Boo individually, these tiny Boos, individually. And then you can suck them up. It sounds easy, but just something about the camera and the way the Boos move just messed me up as a kid, causing me to get stuck here for a long time. But hey, again, with enough practice, he's beatable.
And then the lights go out.
Yeah, Nintendo, don't do this to me. Another section that halted my progress when I was a kid was that infamous Blackout scene, which comes immediately after the Boolossus fight. Instead of simply getting to progress normally, the game makes you trek back through every area that you went through, all with the lights completely off. Up until this point, clearing each area filled the player with a sense of security. All the ghosts are gone, you're safe. Each lit up room was a solace from the rest of the haunted halls. But now all that security's gone, and it's genius. The main objective of this section is to make your way to the basement and flip back on the generator. It's a pretty straight shot if you want to get the lights on quickly. However, if you do that, you'll miss out on one of Luigi's Mansion's coolest portrait ghosts. Enter Uncle Grimly, a portrait ghost that only appears during the Blackout section of the game. If you turn on the lights before catching Uncle Grimly, you've lost your only chance to get him. Seems simple enough, but the catch is that the location of Uncle Grimly isn't exactly stated. The only hint that you get is that he prefers rooms with mirrors, and in case you didn't know, Luigi's Mansion has a lot of mirrors! Now, one fault that I feel Luigi's Mansion has here is that the location of Uncle Grimly isn't randomized. He's in the wardrobe room, and once you know that, it's pretty easy to find him on repeat playthroughs. However, for the first time player, the developers made sure to throw the player off as well as they could by placing a ton of red herring mirrors in the house, making the player explore almost every room to make sure they don't miss one. And it can get hard. Again, not for me now, as I know exactly what to do and I'm pretty good at the game, but for little youngling Matthew, well, that was a put down the game and go play Pokemon type of day. Once the lights are back on, there aren't really any more curveballs. It's not necessarily a bad thing though, as the last couple of portrait ghosts are still as fun and memorable as ever. I mean, who could forget Ice Guy, another dead kid, Jar? Alright, fine, the last area of this game isn't the most inspired. Yeah, it's quite apparent that after the Blackout, the momentum begins to slow down. The ghosts found in these areas are honestly the most forgettable of the bunch. I mean, I've beaten this game countless times, and for some reason these guys just don't stick with me. They're not bad in design or concept or anything, but it feels like there should have been some sort of better lead up to what I can safely say is one of the coolest final bosses in Nintendo history. You see, throughout the game, a battle with King Boo has always been imminent. You see this guy as soon as the Boo army is released, as well as being the one responsible for capturing Mario in a painting, and even the one who released all the portrait ghosts. So yeah, it's quite obvious that you're going to be facing off against this dude at the end of the game. What's not obvious is that he enlisted the help of Bowser. Well, according to the Luigi's Mansion wiki, it's not actually Bowser, but a Bowser disguise that King Boo uses during the battle with Luigi. But I don't know how I feel about this. I always like to think that King Boo just resurrected Bowser's lifeless corpse and was using it as some sort of meat puppet.
What? This game killed 4 kids. I think meat puppet is pretty tame if you ask me.
The fight is pretty straightforward. Bowser shoots out spike balls, you make sure he gobbles them up, suck up King Boo for a bit, some exorcist shit happens, rinse and repeat until he's all dead. I know it doesn't sound amazing the way that I described it, but trust me, it's a lot more fun in practice. A perfect wrap up to one of my all-time favorite games.
Oh, Mario?
Now, Luigi's Mansion may not seem like the most popular Nintendo series, but in fact, the first game went on to sell just about 3 million copies, with the sequel selling over 5 million. Now, I hope these numbers prompt Nintendo to work on a third game. Hopefully one that's more like the first game, but even one that's like the second game will be fine. I'll take anything at this point. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to go watch cartoons or something, because that game was way too scary. God, I'm glad that ghosts aren't real. Fuck!